Restaurant Unstoppable, episode 664 with Patricio Wise.
There we go. With excitement, allow me to introduce to you today's guest, Chef Patricio Wise. Chef, my man, are you feeling unstoppable today?
Yes, I am.
Awesome. I cannot wait to dive into the story. And when I get a chance to cheers, I do. What did you pour us this morning?
This is Blind Pig IPA by Russian River.
Beautiful. I think it's past noon on the East Coast, which is where I'm from. So this is totally allowed.
This is a West Coast IPA, as it should be.
Nice. So, Chef Patricio Wise was born and raised in a large family in Monterrey, Mexico, where cooking for big parties was an everyday social affair. After a successful career in finance, Wise, who is self-trained in the culinary world, began hosting pop-ups and local farmer markets and breweries. It was so successful. The reason why he's laughing right now is because we were all over the place earlier. We decided to start from the top, which is fine. I'm just gonna let it roll this time. So, hosting pop-ups at local farmer markets and breweries, it was so successful that he secured and established a brick and mortar location within a year. You guys are 3 years into the brick and mortar now, right?
It's been 3.5 years.
And you guys
it was 3 years in June. Yeah.
Continuing to build momentum. Everyone in this community is talking about you. That's why I'm here, and I cannot wait to dive into your story. But let's get that motivational, inspirational ball rolling with a success quote or a mantra. What do you got for us?
There is no substitute for hard work.
There's no substitute for hard work. I think that's pretty straightforward, but dissect it a little bit for us.
I wrote that in my first notebook that I had when we met with the attorney that actually made us a C corporation, and he was kind of like, "Well, you're gonna open a restaurant and this and that." I'm like, well, yeah. So, well, it's a lot of work. I'm like, do you see what I wrote here?
Clearly, you do not read my business plan.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
There's. It's the way it's been.
Yeah.
I've when I used to drive to farmers markets at 4 a.m. To the commissary, which was actually my friend's restaurant, Hawks. I would, half asleep, have hungover, drunk, whatever you want. I would yell to myself, "You are a force of nature. You are a fucking force of nature." And I told the story to my wife at some point. She actually made an art piece of it, and I have it hanging by my bathroom today. It says, "You are a fucking force of nature." That's
awesome. Awesome, man. I love it. Great way to get this thing started. And where does it make sense to start telling your story? Because I know that
it's very long. I don't think we have enough time.
Oh, we have plenty of time. We'll do a two-parter if we have to. It wouldn't be the first time I've cranked out a two-part episode. But I know, you put a lot of emphasis on your work ethic, which is
why I'm sorry I was late.
No, you're fine. But the work ethic, you also put a lot of emphasis on the scientific approach, using scientific methods. Maybe we'll dive more into that later.
Yeah.
But I'm really interested in that. Do you want to give us a teaser now?
Well, replicability is the issue. As restaurants, that is the defining factor of what makes it good or
formulas, right?
Replicability.
Okay.
Formulas, scientific process. We have master recipes, and I can tell you who made the salsa verde.
Yeah.
Just like which of my cooks did, because I know some of them are saltier, some of them are more acidic, some of them are less acidic. If I try it, I can tell you who made it.
Okay.
Even though it's a recipe, I still to this day I'm shocked in awe when people say, "Oh, I'm not sharing the recipe." Why? Why?
Yeah, man.
Do you think you have fucking like Nobel Prize there or something?
And I think the other thing too, you think at the end of the day, people are coming or loyal to you for your recipes or for your relationship with them too. That's the other thing. You can't replicate relationships.
No.
And that's the other big variable too.
I'm very proud of what we have done here, in the sense, and I'm sure Jared, I'm sure you can attest to this. It feels like Cheers on a Friday night.
Yeah.
I work the bar. And I'm very proud to say, it's a very proud feeling to just
That was Jared Campbell you were referencing, I'm assuming, right?
Yes, it is Jared
Yes.
Campbell. Of course.
A little shout out to Jared Campbell, who helps
Little
one of the,
shout
the
out,
many
yes.
people that helped set this up.
Amazing pizza, by the way.
Oh,
He
yeah.
knows how
Moving
to
next
work the
door.
dough. Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Well, is that public?
Maybe.
He'll cut it out if it isn't. I know he is,
Yeah.
but is it public, though?
Yeah, we'll keep that under the wraps. Maybe by the time this is live, it'll be public. But
All right.
let's bring it to your story, man. Let's getting into the industry. Take us to where it makes sense. I know you were raised in a big Mexican family.
Yeah.
Lots of cooking was happening. So
Every Sunday.
Is that where it starts to make sense telling your story?
Yeah. I'm the youngest of 6 siblings.
Okay.
I was telling a story yesterday, as a matter of fact. It just rung a bell. It is Tuesday.
It is. So just being around food, being around a big family, I'm sure there's a lot of cooking going on.
Yeah, so the Mexican culture, as I was brought up in, it's you gather around the kitchen. That's the thing. I mean, when people say a carne asada, it's not a taco. It's a gathering. It's an event. It's a big event. And by big, I mean everybody's there, like the whole family, friends, whatnot. My dad is a Catholic deacon, and he still enforces that, or exercises.
Practices, I think.
Practices,
Yeah.
You know what I meant. I'm probably excommunicated by now, but it doesn't matter. So Sunday was a big day.
Yeah.
The practice was, we get up in the morning, prep, go to church, come back with the priest and everybody around, and the bigger the better.
Yeah.
And we would light the fire, and we would do. Well, they would. I mean, I was young.
But the point being is,
What I
food
learned.
Yeah, people and food, family was a big part of your life early on. You went into finance, which I think is really interesting.
That's a funny story, though.
Well, tell me the story. Yeah, get into it.
I was supposed to go into marine biology.
Okay. What happened there?
Well, there's too many mountains in Canada, so my mom didn't let me go.
Okay, too many mountains in Canada. Marine biology. I don't get it. Tell me.
All right,
Explain.
so I used to be a mountaineer,
Okay.
rock climber. You see those pictures? I took those pictures.
All right. Nice.
That's my backyard right there.
I'll get it.
Like literally my backyard.
We'll make sure we get a photo of that before I leave.
I was just there, and I climbed one of those peaks just for the pictures of it because it's amazing.
I love it.
And I did feel like, yeah, you're not like 20 years ago. It was easier, of course.
So how does mountains tie into marine biology?
That's where I'm going.
Get in there.
So Canada, UBC and UVic, they had these amazing scholarship programs for Mexicans, specifically Mexicans. They were trying to import human capital, and they were extremely successful, to the point where they actually had to deny visas to Mexicans soon afterwards.
Yeah.
I didn't really care about it at that point, but the thing is, I got 2 invites about UBC and UVic, full scholarship. My dad was extremely happy, and when he told my mom, she was like, "Yeah, you're not going." I'm like, "Why? You're gonna fucking die up there. There's too many mountains up there."
Okay, it all makes sense now.
So I had to choose a different program, and I chose finance.
Okay. Why finance?
I'm good with numbers.
Yeah.
I
It's a good
really like numbers.
strength to have in this industry.
Well, I have come to find out that, yes, but I really am good with numbers. I love math, which is weird, I know. But it does help. Scientific method. I mean, you mentioned it before.
I want to try to pull back some layers on that as a conversation unfolds for sure.
No, and I can. It's not recipes, it's methods, it's processes. It's like a steak. Whenever I do a grilled steak, share the recipe. Add salt to it, put it on the fire. That's the recipe.
Right.
You want the method. That's a different story.
Yep. Heat,
Yeah.
time, you
Yeah.
know, all the little technique. There you go. So, during all this time, were you cooking on the side? Were you developing your ability to cook? When did that really
When I-
start to play its role?
When I was rock climbing and we were camping, yes, I was researching methods on how to cook or pack more efficiently. Like pre-cook the pasta and
Yep.
put it in a Ziploc bag with a little
Gotcha.
bit of oil, and it's ready to be like done at the campsite.
Exactly. Just
I mean,
throw it in the pan,
stuff
heat
like
it up.
that.
Gotcha.
Yeah, very easy. But then I got married, and we had this. I really liked my. I love trading. I mean, whenever when I saw Wall Street, I said I want to be a trader, and I became a trader. I a good trader. I want to say so. My
Well, enough
peers,
to get out of the industry. I'm assuming you must have. I mean, I don't want to make too many assumptions, but I'm assuming that you did well enough that you could set yourself up for success in the restaurant industry.
I was.
Maybe we're getting a little ahead of ourselves right now.
That's like
A couple years.
40 minutes ahead.
Keep going.
No, yeah, it's. I always wanted to. I love hosting parties. I love, like I was saying earlier. I mean, I love working the bar, not really working it, just standing there, and just enjoying
The company.
people being happy.
I love it.
I really do enjoy that.
And is that something you recognized early on? Is that something that?
Oh yeah,
Is
yeah.
that-
When I was 15, I was
Oh,
hosting
man.
parties at my house, at my parents' house, and my mom hated me for it because we used a nice china and broke it and scratched the table and stained the nice tablecloths, and I mean, yeah,
I think it's worth to go into your career as in finance a little bit to kind of unpack that because that's ultimately what sets you up for success in the restaurant industry. So, any key mentors, any key lessons during that time in finance? How did that influence who you are today?
Well, when you say finance, I was a market maker.
What were you?
Market maker.
A market maker. What is a market maker?
That's where I was going.
Okay.
It's not commonly known. I mean, it happens every day when I tell people, yeah, I used to be in finance. I used to work at a bank. I'm like, yeah, were you a teller? Well, no. I was manufacturing products that the bank would sell,
Okay.
pretty much. And that's the way it is.
Ooh, you are getting me excited for this conversation, knowing what I'm knowing right now. Keep going.
So I started when I was in the educational programs in universities, specifically in Monterrey. The Tec de Monterrey is there, and that's like the go-to university. I was lucky to be born in Monterrey, I guess. I don't know, but I didn't want to go anywhere except there.
Yeah, and just for a little context, Monterrey is probably one of the most prominent communities in all of Mexico. Is it
It's
safe
the
to say?
third largest city by population. It is the richest city in America.
So a good place to be for opportunity.
San Pedro is the wealthiest city in the whole continent.
Got it. Keep going.
So there's opportunity.
Yeah.
If you know what you're looking for. At the time though, everybody was going abroad and going to Princeton, Harvard, whatever. Like, you have the tech right here. Why the fuck are you going to? Well, I mean, I wanted to go to UBC and UVic,
Yep.
but that's because there's no C in Monterrey, and I wanted to be a marine biologist. I didn't get that, and that's okay, because we're here,
Exactly.
and I'm very happy about it. I love whales, though.
Who doesn't love a whale?
They're big and
Yeah.
amazing.
So we were starting to talk about
Finance. Yes. I know. I'm
doing great.
I digress. Yeah. So I was in this in high school. They had this pilot program for STEM.
Stem cell research.
No, not STEM cell
Oh.
research. Like STEM topics, like
Gotcha.
like STEM careers, and I was actually headed for mechatronics. If you know, it's like robotics mixed with mechanical engineering, which is big now. But I didn't really feel like it. I mean, our final project was to, with Legos, replicate a bottling plant, and we did it, and it was great. And I felt I don't want to spend all my life making machines work. I kind of want to do things myself. So for some reason, I went into finance. Don't ask me why, but I did. When I was in fourth semester in my professional career, or it was a 9-semester program. When I was in fourth semester in summer break, the break, it was first and second, and then break. In every break, I would I would go to Veracruz and be a whitewater river guide, or a mountain guide, or something like that.
Yeah.
And I would love it. That's why I wanted to go to Canada. And when it was fourth semester, it was halfway there. My dad's like, "You're getting a job." I'm like, "No, I'm not." And he's like, "Yeah, you are." So he talks to his friend. I didn't realize that my uncle Pablo was the owner of the bank up until I realized that he was.
Until you were working there.
Well, up until I didn't show up for the interview.
Yeah.
So he sets up an interview for me, and I don't go. And he wakes me up the next morning, like beats me out of bed. What the fuck, man? That's your Uncle Pablo. You didn't fucking go to the meeting. I'm like, whatever. And so I went
Yeah.
that day, and I apologized profusely, and just like today, pretty much.
For a little context, we're our boy Patricio was maybe 15 minutes, 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all right. I was ready to rock and roll. It usually takes me 15 or 20 minutes to set up, so it worked out pretty nicely.
I mean, it is Tuesday.
Yeah. It's cool. Keep going.
Anyways, so I get there, and the I didn't really realize who this guy was. I mean, I knew my Uncle Pablo. They're compadres. They're godparents to one of my brothers. And it was a summer, so I thought it was just like a summer job. But the head of HR was there to greet me and say, "Okay, so what do you want to do at the bank?" Like, I don't know. I would love to be a trader. All right, you're going to the treasury. Like high clearance. I'm like, whoa, wait, what?
Nice.
At that point, that bank was undergoing a kind of like an overhaul, not because of the bank's necessities, but because the treasury had a heart attack.
Okay. Opportunity.
Yeah. And he was there, but his load was lightened like quite a bit. And the trader that was there, he wasn't the best. But they brought in somebody else who became my boss. And it just so happened that my cubicle was right in front of his office. This is all like...
It seems like a lot of happenstance up to this point.
It's serendipity.
Yeah.
It's what it is.
Yeah.
It's serendipity.
Yeah.
It's the middle of summer. I'm at a summer job. I'm an economic analyst. I'm writing reports, publishing reports internally and externally, and this guy, the new director of the treasury, his office is right next to my cubicle.
Yeah. So did that lead? Do you think that kind of puts you give you a competitive edge to move ahead?
Well, we became friends.
Yeah.
And he started relying upon me to do a lot of directing the treasury.
Okay.
And when it was August, I said, "All right, I'm off."
Yeah.
He's like, "Wait, what? You're not off? What the fuck you mean you're off?" Like, yeah,
It's summer break.
it was just a summer thing. Like, no.
Yeah, that's a college thing, buddy.
You're staying. I don't know how, but you're staying. I'm like, all right, make me an offer. And he did, and it was good, and I stayed. And for the last 5 semesters of my ongoing university career, I was working a full-time job at a bank. I was in charge of funding the bank daily. I was in charge of trading their bond program. And it was great. And I learned a lot. I learned more at the bank than I did at school. I would go to school just to be there and then just like take a nap or something. I'm not kidding.
Well, I'll be honest, man. I really don't know the first thing about banking, but what you said you had a knack for it. You said you were good at it. What were you good at? Get specific. Where were your strengths in the world of banking?
Math.
So, what were you doing with this bank that, aside from being friends with the guy who's in charge of everything?
Well, I mean, I was trading bonds. Bonds are a bond is a debt structure. It's specified as such. It's a piece of it's a contract that has a specific set of parameters. You sell the bond, so you get money in exchange for it, and then you pay a coupon, which is the interest, and then you pay it off at the end. But that's as simple as it gets.
So you're building these. You're putting these packages together.
I'm manufacturing these things.
Okay,
Yes.
got you.
It's a very niche thing.
Yeah.
There's. I mean.
Well, you
I
said a couple of things. Sorry, did I cut you short?
No.
You said a couple of things that stood out to me. I wrote them down. You said that you created markets, and you also mentioned that even though you didn't go in this direction, that you learned a lot about making machines in your previous vertical.
In high school, they had this program.
So that was maybe not worth bringing back to the surface.
No. I mean, it's numbered. It's science. It's a STEM course.
Mm-hmm.
I really like that. I really like the fact that we were given the chance of
basically understanding systems is what it sounds like.
Yeah, pretty much.
So that's why I pulled those two things, because as a restaurateur, essentially what you're doing is I think instead of going out and trying to recreate what's already been done, and somebody creates a market, you're replicating that thing that they created in the same market. But what a really good restaurateur does is they create a market, right? They bring something to a market that wasn't there, and they say this is missing.
Yeah.
So I'm curious if that had something to do with maybe I'm fast forwarding too much, but you're creating markets essentially.
When we first stopped, yes, but not in the same way.
Okay.
I mean, finance market maker, what he does is and I'm delving too much into it. I mean, I'm sure people will be bored at this point. But so you have banks and you have investors and you have the public and you have other banks, and you have sellers and you have buyers, and they all have their own interest. A market maker, what we used to do is, I would get a call and say, "Hey, I need 5 million euro against dollar. What's your quote?" And I would give them a buy and a sell price, and I would do either. I didn't care. Or, hey, I need 5 million of crude oil contracts, and I would give them a bid and a bid and an offer, and they would hit you up on either of them. You don't know as a market maker if they're buying or selling.
Yeah.
So you give them I'll buy at this rate, I'll sell at this rate.
Yeah, and essentially what you're doing as the creator is playing the market. You're running the odds.
Pretty much.
Yeah. Is that
And
where your strength was?
Well, my strength was in the systems. I'm really good at math.
Yeah.
Like I said.
Yeah, but I would assume playing the odds that math comes in, right? Kind of like counting cards, in the sense like you know the numbers. You're running probability.
You are running probability. Yeah. It's a portfolio.
Yeah.
And it's kind of volume where you actually get to the point to actually be comfortable with it. In this, I mean, if you're a small player, there's no way you'll make it.
So you're right. We're kind of going into a rabbit hole here. We'll come back to the surface and just kind of explain to me what you think this experience. How many years did you spend in the finance? At least 7, right?
15.
15. Okay, so I was way off. 15 years in finance, right? So what were the biggest things that you learned that you pulled from this experience that you started leveraging later in life? Systems. What systems? Just generally
systems.
Speaking? Yeah.
Yeah.
What were you learning about systems?
Methodical procedures.
Okay.
That's how restaurants work.
Yeah.
As much as they want to please our guests, as much as they want to create an amazing environment for them. I mean, 2 Fridays ago, I was sitting at the bar. I was so stressed because there was a line out the door.
Yeah.
I was happy, but I was so stressed because they weren't happy. And there was nothing you could do about it.
There's not a system for that, is there?
Yeah, they went in
There
line.
could be.
They went in line, and then we take the order, and the food comes out in 7 minutes. But there's no table. So I was literally like so stressed. And I started writing and taking notes and shit, and there's nothing to do. That's the problem that everybody wants to have, and it's a fucking problem. I don't
Too
want,
busy.
I don't want the problem. I want to please everybody that walks in through the door. I want them to have a good guest experience. I'm a guest at some places. I hate waiting in line. That is not a good guest experience. So systems, protocols, the fact of being able to actually document and replicate,
Yeah.
replicability.
Yeah. So it sounds like you have this ability to create these systems, but more importantly, you have a desire to become better and to not let. If you see a way to do or be better, like you're thinking of a system that you can implement immediately to solve that problem.
I was thinking about it that
Yeah.
day.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we do have some tablets that we could go around, and this is just applying to that specific case. But there was no tables.
Yeah.
All tables were taken.
Yeah.
And I was taking up one seat at the bar. So I got up and got to work.
There you go. There's one more seat, right?
Yeah.
So you learned systems, methodical systems. That's one big lesson from the finance. What else? Anything else that's worth diving into before we move forward?
Accounting.
Accounting.
Accounting
Huge.
is very
We
important.
don't need to get into the details of accounting, but for sure.
But we should. I mean, it's accounting in restaurants is paramount.
Yeah. Give us something that most restaurateurs, in your opinion, don't know about accounting.
Nothing. I'm sorry. I mean, it was a very, we've been up in 3.5 years.
Yeah.
And we've changed accounting firms 3 times.
Why?
They weren't delivering. Pretty much. That's why. But the essence of it was you want... when you're an owner, that's one thing. When you're a chef owner, that's a different thing. I'm a chef owner.
What's the difference?
The owner is the CEO of a company. They run the books. They work from a computer in your dining room or wherever. I do that here. When you're the chef owner, you're the actual operator. And it makes a big fucking difference because there's no time to be on the computer. Even though you have to be.
Yeah.
And you really do have to be.
Yeah.
Like, you really, really have to be controlling the cost, invoices, controlling. I mean, everybody gets paid anyways, but you have to be on top and analyzing the numbers. And that's a full-time job. And I used to do that. I used to analyze the bond market and about the government auctions. I used to look at them and say, yes, I'm going to buy that one. Very cheap.
Yeah.
And I would. That's a full-time job, like data crunching.
So
There's no system. I mean, the newer POSs, they really help with that, but there really is not that culture of the data cruncher GM that works for a restaurant that will give an edge to the operator.
So when you're going to the accountant, you're outsourcing that.
I have an accountant to file all my official stuff because you need a guy for that.
Well, it's interesting because when I was thinking about how this conversation would go, being somebody with a financial background, I was wondering if you kept that in-house.
No, that's where I was going.
Okay.
It's so humbling to learn that, I used to manufacture very sophisticated financial products, but they don't apply for this, and I suck at accounting.
Okay,
I mean, that was a humbling realization. Like, I have a master's in finance, and I used to do like high-end, like very niche. Like, there's counted people in the country that can do that.
Yeah.
But I need a CPA to actually run my books.
But at the same time, I feel like that role in the restaurant industry is very much, yes, there is a skill base that's required. You need to have a certain level of skill to do that, but it's also something that can be automated, that can be that in the restaurant industry, I mean, as important as it is, it can be done outside of the house, so you can focus on the more immediate things like the standards of the food,
Service,
like
yeah.
and the quality of the relationships
You
with
see
your
how I said
employees.
service immediately?
Yeah, right. So, boom, right there. I think we need to take our first break to thank our sponsors, and we'll be right back to start talking about how you started to transition away from finance into the restaurant world, and we got to fill up our beers. So, perfect timing. We'll be right back.
This episode brought to you by MarginEdge. Never deal with a paperwork nightmare again.
We're back, and we have a full pint each for the second half of this conversation, and I cannot wait to get into it. So what I love about your story is, you know, we see a lot. I think people try to just rush right into this industry. Like they try to hit a switch into becoming a full-time restaurateur. That's not what you did.
It's hard.
What approach did you take?
So when I was back in Mexico still, and when I first got married, both my wife and myself, we enjoy entertaining. So we hosted a couple, well, not a couple, more than a couple. We had a supper club in lieu of a restaurant, and this is where I actually learned to cook, because I would be forced to make these very unique, sophisticated, high-end menus. The first one of them all was I picked out 5 courses from the French Laundry Cookbook. And I tell this story all the time. It's been published, and I'm not ashamed. And I almost couldn't make it. Because, you know, the first thing when you read a recipe, you need to read the recipe.
Yeah.
And then plan. I did not do that. And that's probably one of the best learning experiences that I had. I was this close to actually ordering pizza for everyone.
So this is for the first
ever supper club.
You
I picked out 5 courses from the French Laundry Cookbook.
and you're like, all right, guests are almost here. We should probably start reading these.
It was like when you get to the end, oh, it takes 2 days. Oh, I kind of need it now.
Oh man! So what was the lesson? You said it was a huge lesson. What is that lesson?
The lesson is read the recipes.
Yeah. Plan ahead, right?
Plans.
Yeah.
We come back to the same.
Yeah.
Protocols.
So how did that first dinner club go?
Oh, it was great.
What was
It
great
was
about
amazing.
it? Did the food come out good?
Yeah.
Really?
Of course it did.
Even with not 2 days of preparation.
It didn't need 2 days. I mean,
So what's the other lesson there? I mean, it could have been a disaster. You almost ordered pizza, but you
it was
turned
all
it
our
around.
friends.
Yeah.
I mean, I was extremely concerned,
Yeah.
but it really didn't affect.
How many total dinner clubs would you say you hosted?
Well, we hosted 1 per week
One per week for how many weeks?
for like 2 years.
Okay. I mean, that's pretty awesome. You know, I don't think it was probably your intent or your angle, but even today, like that's probably the cheapest way to start a restaurant.
Yes.
Because if you're doing these dinner clubs, you're inviting first it starts with friends and family, right?
Yeah.
And then they bring their friends. But if you're smart about it,
And that was the rule. The idea was that it would be a. I'm not making any money off of this.
Yeah.
I'm learning,
yeah.
and you guys are eating good.
And
And I'm partnering with the local wine guys, so it's cost effective. So
Were you selling tickets or is it all free?
No, it was tickets.
Okay.
The tickets were, and that's where I was going. The tickets were mostly just to recoup
Cover the
costs.
expenses?
Yeah,
Yep.
and we had a server and we had a bartender, and I mean, these things ended at like 6 a.m.
Yeah. So you did this once a week for 2 years. What advice do you have for somebody who is looking to take this approach of just starting and doing it in their own house with
Cook.
with dinner club? Just cook. What about
Just go and do it.
organization and communication or things along those lines?
There's so many tools nowadays. There's I eats with, or there's like an Uber deal for gatherings like this. I think it's
Is it Eventbrite?
no, that's for
Oh, you said
selling
Uber,
tickets.
Okay.
Eat with, or it's like a thing for supper clubs.
Okay.
And I've looked into it. I mean, we didn't do it any.
Was it around when you were doing your
No.
club? No. Okay.
No, this is like 4 years old or 5.
Okay.
But there's tools now.
Yeah, there's tools now.
There's Facebook groups. People are more adept to that. There's there's a lot of online social media marketing advantages that were not available. And here's the thing. I mean, Roseville, Sacramento, Elk Grove, West Laurel Hills, wherever you are, it's if that's your community, that's great. But Monterrey, it's a big community, and both Cynthia and I, we both grew up there, so we knew everybody there. And to put it in perspective, you know, when you grow up in a local town, wherever, and you want to go to college later, and you want to go to that college later, well, that college is in my hometown. So we all went there.
Yeah, gotcha.
This is why I said earlier, I was blessed to be born there. I mean, and the mountains and everything.
So you're saying because of this, you had that affluent market and network of people that would want to come and be a part of this dinner club? Is that
It was very easy.
Yeah.
It was very easy, even without the advent of social media. Even though there was, like Facebook was just starting back then.
But you had this hyper-focused group of people, like-minded people in one spot.
Yeah, we had and the rule was, these are my friends, and if somebody else wants in, it has to be a friend of you, and you have to bring him in, and then you take care of him if he gets drunk, because I mean, it was.
Yeah.
We'd sit down at 9:30, 10. It's late. I just realized that when I was back there 3 weeks ago. I'm like, are we going to do it for dinner at 10:30? Oh, yeah, that's cool. All right. I'm going to take a nap before that.
But I think the point is, like you said, just start, right? And
Start.
Start with friends and family.
Start cooking.
And start bringing people in. And I think the important thing that you also mentioned is there's tools and services. We'll try to... I'll try to find some of those tools. Maybe you can email me or text me if that tool comes into your mind.
There's so much of them.
Yeah,
there's so many of them.
We'll put some of those in the show notes, but just start. I think the other really important thing is use these dinner clubs to what I don't think a lot of people do when they start these is don't start building their list. Right, start building your email list then. Have a website. You know, how hard is it to build a website? Start capturing emails, right? And then when you get your brick and mortar, you have like this list
in 30 minutes
of
right
hundreds,
now.
maybe even thousands of people that have come and cooked for you, that have a personal connection with you. That's your baseline. That's your market. You know, and just start be intentional early on. Don't focus on the brick and mortar. Focus on the non-tangible things that you can start building, relationships and networks. Right, that's the power.
That's exactly what I'm saying. I mean, why do you want to cook?
Yeah.
Because you want to be a 3 Michelin star chef, or because you want to please people?
Hopefully the latter.
Yes. Yes. The former is not good.
No.
I've known some 3 Michelin stars, or 2 or 1, that are like, I want to give it back. I don't want it.
Yeah.
We want to please people.
Yeah.
This is a hospitality industry. We want to please people.
So you start with the dinner clubs. Eventually, you move to California, Roseville.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're here for 10 years to date, or from when you opened your restaurant?
10 years. 2010, so 9 years.
Okay.
It's
so what was it? Yeah. Why did you make the move to the States? What was going on there?
Cartels.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Insecurity. It was bad.
Oh, wait. So were you worried about
life?
Your life?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want to get you to talk. I mean, talking about it probably won't help the situation.
It's bad. It was bad. It still is bad. I mean, it got to a point where we were making good money, enough to be a target, not enough to be worthwhile, and it got to the point where it wasn't the cartels. I don't want to speak bad about the cartels. They do their job. They move illicit merchandise.
Yeah.
And they're very efficient at it. I am not affiliated with any of them.
So
I'm not trying to defend anyone. But what I'm saying is, because people like satanize and go after them for, the cartels, the drugs, and well, they're doing their business and they're amazing at it. They're fucking good.
Yeah.
They really are.
Yeah.
But they have different branches. So back in 2009, one of those branches broke off, and it was the armed branch. And they were like Mossad, CIA trained. They knew how to move people, how to exploit humans, and that was still okay. We're all still like, yeah, okay. The set does, yeah, they'll never mess with me. I mean, what happened was that they created such a state of panic that the government and the local law enforcement would never go in. Like, a set that's involved, I'm not going in there.
Yeah.
So that opened up an opportunity for amateurs, and the amateurs are bad. They were very bad.
Amateur
Kidnappers, amateur.
people trying to be the cartel.
Well, they were saying that they were
Yeah.
just to get the cops off their back, but they were idiots. They didn't know what they were doing. And I actually lost a couple of friends, a cousin, 2 cousins.
I'm sorry.
I mean, this is why we left.
Yeah. I don't blame you.
So I started looking out. Roseville. Where's Roseville?
Yeah. Why'd you choose Roseville? Like,
I didn't choose.
Did you close your eyes and just like put your finger on a map?
I would have. I mean, even if I wanted to, I probably wouldn't have hit Roseville.
It's a great place, though.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
I still remember when. I had an interview in New York, in Chicago. Again, my finance niche was very particular.
Yeah. That was finance niche. Is that what you just said? Your finance.
Yeah,
okay,
finance niche.
Gotcha. Yeah.
My expertise.
Yeah.
And I wasn't gonna get a job as a chef anywhere. I mean, I'm not trained or anything. I am now.
So at this point, when you're coming back to Roseville, are you in your mind? Are you
When I'm
like
coming back?
when you came to the States to Roseville for the first time? You're in your mind. Are you thinking I'm going to open a restaurant? Is that where you are? No.
I'm thinking I'm getting out of Monterrey.
Yeah. So
It's bad.
you ended up working for a rice company, correct? A massive company.
It's the large. It used to be. I don't know where they're at now, but I'm pretty sure they're along those routes. I was the head of market risk for what is or was the largest privately held rice mover in the world. And what that means is we didn't grow rice. We would originate it from farmers, from growers anywhere in the world, depending on the quality you wanted. And we'd put it in a boat, and we'd deliver it to you wherever you wanted it. And when I mean a boat, I mean, like, we're talking 20,000 tons.
Yeah.
Like a Panamax.
Yeah. So how was finance being a finance trader? How did that play into this?
Well, they were looking for somebody to manufacture these products in house instead of them having to buy them at the bank.
Okay.
So it was a perfect.
So
fit.
manufacturing again, bonds, deals, markets.
Well, a bond is a structure.
Yeah.
That's just
So I clearly don't know what I'm talking about, but basically managing these deals,
manufacturing them.
manufacturing. Thank you.
So I ended up I'm running their whole hedging structure and program in the sense of we had several different books, some for speculating, some for hedging, some for actual operations, and it was all my job to.
But you're
make
doing
sure.
this full time.
Oh yeah.
And at what point did
That's
you
why
start?
I moved to Roseville, and it was funny.
Because it's for work.
When I told Cynthia, my wife, so I have an interview in New York and Chicago, and then I have one in Roseville. And she's like, where the fuck is Roseville? Like, it's in between Tahoe and Napa. Okay, yeah, I like that.
Let's go there. I don't blame her. So
That's how I solved it.
But that's how you came here. 2010. It was around 2016, right? No, when did you come here? 2010?
That was 2010.
Yeah, 2010.
2010.
And it was in 2016 when you started doing the farmers markets and the breweries.
2015.
15.
Yeah.
Okay. So 5 years. Like, at what point did you get this idea? When did the seed get planted in your head that I'm going to open my own restaurant?
So we had that supper club thing before, right?
Yeah.
So we both really enjoyed pleasing people via food.
Mm-hmm.
When we, I had a specialty, an H-1B visa, and then it became a green card. All along, I mean, I was at the company, and I'm extremely grateful for it. I mean, they sponsored everything, as they have too. I mean,
Your employer.
our employer, yeah. Well, my employer.
Yeah.
Cynthia couldn't work, and it's very. The first year was very hard for me. It was very, very hard for me.
First year at
That company,
Okay.
because like I said, I used to be a market maker on the sell side, so I would manufacture products all day, constantly, every day. I was trading, constantly.
cranking them out. Yeah.
When you move to the buy side, to like you're the guy that's buying it or manufacturing it in house, your job is done in 2 days out of a month. I was like the first 2 days out of the month, I was like, and we're done. And then the rest was like, all right, I'm fucking bored. And it was bad.
And that was the challenge of just being done too soon.
Dealing with it.
Yeah.
That was very hard for me.
Why was it hard for you?
Mentally. I was used to, I mean, when I was back in Mexico, I was sitting at the front of an auditorium, and we had like 56, it was a training floor, yelling and screaming.
Yeah.
And it was constant. Like, you couldn't get.
Too slow pace.
That was fast paced. Back here, well, I'm just one of those guys.
Yeah.
And I'm manufacturing it, so I don't even need to call anybody. It's done, and it's done, and now it's done.
So mentally, were you just bored, unchallenged, or
I was bored,
unfulfilled?
unchallenged, not unfulfilled. I mean, we were doing good. We had good portfolios, but it was just difficult to like abide with it. That was the first year. Second, third years, I got the hang of it, and it was okay. But I always told Cynthia, you know what? I miss Mexican cuisine like we know it.
Yeah.
There's nothing like it here. Every other restaurant is Michoacan or Jalisco inspired, and that's okay. I love carnitas.
Yeah.
But there's so much carnitas
I think
you can have.
anybody listening to this might be thinking to themselves, there's plenty of Mexican food in California, but I think it's worth mentioning that we destroy Mexican food, and that Mexican food is very regional.
Yeah.
And I think you pointed out in one of your articles.
It is extremely regional.
Yeah, so it's not we treat it like it's one thing, but it's not. And you're from Monterrey, so you're missing the
How would you define American cuisine?
there is no pizza and pies.
You just said it. Pizza's Italian.
Yeah, exactly.
And hot dogs are German.
I mean, I think what you make in your flour tortillas are probably more American than anything else that comes here, because it's a native thing, tortillas. I mean, native to maybe New Mexico and California before we pushed everybody out.
So you want to hear where those come from?
Maybe I'm completely wrong right now.
No, you're not wrong. So
Please educate me.
the Spanish came to America in 1500, right? And the Sephardi Jews, they came to America shortly after that, 50 years later.
Yeah.
These were Spaniards that were expelled from Spain. And they came into Puebla, just like they all did, Mexico City. And then they were expelled from Mexico. And they were sent up north. And they founded Monterrey. I mean, we're all Sephardi Jews. Monterrey people, I mean. Not these guys. But, and it was 500 families. And they were traveling north, and that's like LA to Sacramento. It's a long trek.
Yeah.
It took them a couple of years to get there, with the whole with all the families, and they traveled with goats because
you were saying LA to Sacramento. That was a reference as far as Mexico City to Monterrey.
Mexico City to
Gotcha.
Monterrey, yeah. So Monterrey was founded by Sephardi Jews that were expelled from Spain and weren't accepted in Mexico City. And they had goats with them. And they had flour with them. So in central Mexico, the corn, the maize, nixtamal, what we do here, Nixtaco. Everybody asks, so who's Nick? There's no Nick. It's Nixtamal tacos. That's why it's called Nixtaco. It's a portmanteau.
I'm not gonna lie, I was curious about that myself.
I know.
It makes sense.
Nixtaco. We cook the corn, we grind it, we make the masa.
Yeah,
We make the nixtamal, then we make the tortillas, then we make the fucking tacos.
beautiful.
I think so.
Yeah, I love it.
It's hard to explain, even though it's not really, but people don't get it.
Is that the end of your origin story as far as the food?
No. So that's a very there's no origin to nixtamalization. Anthropologic speculators say or speculate that because it's not documented. It's documented once it was happened, but it never was documented as an origin issue. And the speculation goes like this. Some Inca guy was cooking the corn for the next day, and he tripped over the ashes, and the ashes fell in the water. And they didn't have any more water, so they cooked it anyways. And it came out different when they ground it. It wasn't grits, it was masa. So you couldn't cook them as grits. They cooked them as patties, and
Damn, this is good.
the tortilla was fucking born.
Yeah.
And then hundreds of years later, they realized that people were healthier. They weren't shitting corn kernels.
Yeah.
I mean, because corn is,
Hard to digest.
it's very hard, yes. So the basic, the alkalinity of the broth that it's cooked in actually helps break down the pericarp and transform the starches into more digestible.
Yeah. You can see that scientific desire, that
sorry,
scientific
I'm sorry,
method.
I'm sorry.
No, I love it. I love it. It's good. And I wasn't expecting to get a gastro lesson today, so that's also really cool too. What I'm really interested about is that the fact that you didn't dive straight into opening a restaurant. You scaled into it. So,
I couldn't.
I mean, and I think what we're basically coming to a head in the conversation where it sounds like you were unfulfilled with your work. You were getting there at 3 o'clock in the morning. You were done by noon, and there was something you needed out. There was a void in your life. You missed these weekly dinner
Pleasing
clubs.
people.
Yes, exactly. So you wanted to bring that back into your life. So what was your approach to injecting this hospitality, this warmth of pleasing people, of feeding people? What was your plan to get back into it?
Well, like I said, just start cooking and start feeding people. And if you have to make a dinner party at your house, do it.
Yeah. So when did this idea to start doing tacos start?
So we, it was probably like there's Mexican cuisine, there's Mexican food around, and I said this, I love carnitas, but I was tired of them. And at some point, me and my wife said, we need some Monterrey tacos, like tacos that like they would be in Monterrey right now.
Yeah.
And I started looking at the whole concept and said, okay, how do you make a good taco? Like scientifically, how do you approach the manufacture of a properly good taco?
Scientific approach. I love it.
You start from the bottom.
Yeah.
And what's at the bottom? The tortilla.
Yeah.
How do you make a good tortilla? You cook your own corn
Yeah.
and you fucking grind it.
Yeah.
And well, that's expensive. I don't give a fuck. It has to be done that
Yeah,
way.
that's the way
because
that's
it's
how
from the bottom up.
Yeah.
I mean, you've had tacos at street carts or food trucks and whatnot, and you probably got two very thin tortillas. The one on top is broken completely,
Yeah.
and the one on the bottom is barely holding it.
Yeah.
I hate that.
Yeah.
I do. I fucking hate that.
Right?
So we give you one tortilla.
Thick tortilla.
It's thick enough to
Yeah.
hold the heft of the
Yeah.
taco. Yeah. But that's how you do it. I mean, it's
So when you were starting, so basically, like you knew that you wanted to open a restaurant.
yeah. We've always
and
I
you-
mean,
and
both Cynthia and myself. We've always been.
But you started small. I'm sure your first tortilla wasn't what it is today. Did you knock it out of the park on the first day? I mean, you probably had to evolve.
we did have a guest that said that she was never coming back because the tortillas were too corny.
Then She doesn't appreciate it.
Your face. There's video here. I was like short-circuiting in my fucking brain. I was like, okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, but not really.
So I guess what I want to dissect is your approach to starting small and scaling into it.
You have to start small.
Yeah.
You have to start small.
I'm guessing you were I mean, I don't want to make assumptions, but I'm assuming you were making decent money at the time. You had a decent job.
I don't make any money.
But
Personally,
when
if
you were
ask
doing
the IRS, I don't make any money.
Finance? Before? When you were in the finance role, like...
I used to make so much more.
But I'm assuming you were putting some of it away, right?
The company is successful. We're opening a distillery. I don't know if you knew.
I think I heard our boy Jared mention that. Jared and Ashley mentioned that. Yeah,
they're very excited about it,
yeah.
and so am I.
Yeah, I bet.
We are right now. I mean, the plans are like at the city right now, being like right the second somebody's looking at them.
Yeah, but sorry, go ahead.
No,
Did I cut
no.
you short? Well, what I want to get at really. For somebody who's listening to this, right, who wants to open a restaurant, but they don't have the money behind them, they don't have stacks of cash behind them to self-invest, they don't have the experience behind them, like you didn't really have the experience behind you to get investors, your approach was start where I can. And where you could was learning how to build a badass tortilla. That's where you started, right?
Well, that was the concept for the taqueria.
Yeah.
I mean, when you make my approach was, if you want to make an amazing taco, you have to start with amazing ingredients.
Yeah.
And every part of it has to be amazing. But it applies to like anything. I mean, if you want to do an Italian restaurant, the pasta has to be fucking good.
Yeah, but you were, I guess more I'm curious is how you chose your plan, your strategy, your scientific, did you have a scientific method to scale into a brick and mortar? You know what I'm saying? No, you just cook really good stuff. Don't have high standards. Do it the best you possibly can do it. Was that your plan?
When we opened in June 2015, 2015, I was still working at that other job. I was still managing their portfolios, and the CEO pulled me in and said, "So what's going on? Are you leaving?" I'm like, "Yeah, I am leaving next month." Like, well, yeah, you should probably start working into this, handing them over.
Yeah,
like we're all cash. Don't worry about it. I mean, like literally, don't worry about it. But
don't be afraid to grab that mic and put it right up.
I know. I'm sorry.
No, you're doing great.
I'm sorry. I lost my train of thought. You fucking distracted me. With
No. So you were transitioning out of the restaurant. They said
the company
to open your restaurant.
Into restaurant. Yeah.
And they said you should start transitioning or passing over the work you're doing.
And I did that, and but still I don't know where I was going.
The original question was, how did you start transitioning?
It was so hard. Like that 2 months. It was so difficult in the sense of livelihood. I mean, it's fearful.
Yeah.
It's okay. I was making good money there.
Yeah.
I was making a salary plus commissions and plus bonuses and this and that. And now I am not.
Yeah. So did you need to get investors? Did you have people behind you to
We
to
did
invest?
it all in-house. It was all my wife and myself.
What did you need to get started? Like, what did you need a lot of assets to get started? If you were just doing pop-ups at breweries?
No, pop-ups are doable. Pop-ups are easy. You need $60,000 to do a pop-up.
Yeah.
Or to start a pop-up operation, I mean. Depends on how hefty you want to do it. Brick and mortar, whole different story. It's
But you were doing it for over a year at pop-ups and breweries before you had the brick and mortar.
Yeah, but that was the that was the plan. That was the idea was to actually do kind of like a test market.
Proof of concept.
Proof of concept, yes. That's how investors call it.
Yep, proof of concept. And I think the other thing...
I didn't want to say those words.
proof of concept. So you found that, like, how long did it take you to realize you had proof of concept?
5 months. 5-6 months.
Mm-hmm.
And we started getting...
How'd you know?
We started getting requests and for investments.
Okay.
Hey, are you opening a brick and mortar? I have a property here. I have a property there. I'm like, yeah. And we still do.
Why were you shaking your head to these people? I mean, I think most people, if they have this dream, this passion of opening a restaurant, I think what gets them in trouble is they do take the first offer. They get, oh my God, this isn't going to happen again.
That's why I'm shaking my head.
Why? How did you know it was not going to be your first offer?
I'm a finance guy.
Okay. So what were you waiting for?
The right offer.
How did you know it would be right?
It wasn't right, so we didn't take it.
Okay. Well, did you have an image of what the right offer looked like at this time?
I had an image, yeah.
What would that look like?
It didn't look like controlling. It didn't look like. That's. I mean, that's pretty much what it comes down to.
It didn't look controlling. So you wanted freedom.
Yeah, when you get an investor and they ask for 51%, they're
not looking out for you.
they know what they're doing, and it's an asset for them, and that's okay.
I mean,
but I
mean, if you wait a little longer, you might be able to have a little more leverage in that negotiation, right? Because you have more reputation.
Yeah, you want our name, sure, but you're not controlling it though.
Yeah. So when did you know you had the right offer? Did somebody come?
Nobody came. No,
Nobody came?
I mean, I mean, they still come. I still get offers every once in a while, but we didn't take any money from anybody.
Why not?
We didn't need to. I mean, this was an existing restaurant. This is a second generation. Remodel was.
So this location we're talking about right now was a second generation restaurant.
Yeah, it was a Thai restaurant before.
Thai restaurant. So how did you even find this location? How did you know? Did
It was
they
on
reach
Craigslist.
out on Craigslist? So you didn't. Nobody reached out to you. You were looking. You were actively searching. How did you know this was a good deal?
I didn't know it was a good deal. I took a gamble.
Yeah.
And my idea was, it's in the middle of fucking nowhere. It's either going to be a destination or it's not going to be a destination, and we'll die. And that's okay. Then.
How do you have that mentality? How do you build this level of confidence in yourself to be okay with failure?
I don't know. I really don't know. It's that's a good question, and it's, I mean, humbling, but it's you have to be okay with failure.
Mm.
I mean, it's a project. Either it works or it doesn't.
Yeah.
And I won't lie to you. 1 week in, like 1 week, 7 days in, we opened on a Wednesday, and the Tuesday.
1 year after starting the pop-ups and the
No.
breweries.
This location, 1 week open. I had so many dissatisfied customers, guests, that I was like dismal. I was really like sad.
Wait, let's work into that, because I'm curious, and I want to know a little more about pop-ups. I want a little like if you have any advice for anybody out there who's looking to get into pop-ups or
If you wanna go cook. That's all. I mean, it's always doable.
But what
the health department will take a plan on a fucking napkin. Like, they'll take it. They'll say, okay, so what do you want to do? I want to do this and this and this and that. Okay. You need to pay me $1,000, but you can do it.
Yeah, for a pop-up, the bar is a lot lower to get started in a pop-up.
Yeah, it's.
But what do
You
most
should do
people
it.
not consider with a pop-up or traveling on site to farmers markets or breweries? What advice can you give us for that person who's looking to make that start today? What do you not consider?
Be ready to put in the hours. It's hard work.
Yeah.
It's 2 hours of setup and 1 hour of breakdown, and everything has to be prepped before. So, I mean, be ready for the fucking hours.
Yeah. Were you milling your own flour or your own corn?
Yeah.
Where did you mill it?
Oh no! When I was in the pop-ups, I had I actually was buying the tortillas from a miller that was doing them just for me.
Okay, so you were supplying the corn, and then they were milling the corn?
I wasn't even supplying the corn.
Okay, they sourced it?
They sourced it. When we opened, we had that purchasing power now, and and we do.
Yeah. Okay, so you find this location. What was it about this location? And you were taking a risk, but I mean,
Huge risk.
But there was something that was speaking to you about this location. What was it specifically about this location that spoke to you?
Do you ever see Cheers, that show?
Yes.
I did a reference to it earlier.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
It give you that vibe?
It's I thought that we could replicate that and make it a service to neighbors, and we have, and I'm so proud of that.
So you opened and you were scared shit.
Fuck.
Things weren't going well. What was going on?
So this was this was 4 years ago, right?
Yeah.
And Mexican scene now. I mean, you dine around. There's been a couple restaurants, not to say a bunch of them, but more than one, that have opened and closed after we opened, that were essentially a copy of us.
Meaning just high focus on tacos with quality ingredients, quality tortillas.
Concept. Not necessarily high quality ingredients. I mean, they closed.
Okay, gotcha. Keep going.
Cynthia, my wife, as our marketing director, she gets extremely pissed when somebody steals or copies.
It's the greatest compliment.
That's what I tell her.
Yeah.
Like, you shouldn't worry about it.
Yeah.
You really should not. The more Mexican there is, the better. It helps us.
Yeah. Why? How does it help you?
Well, when more restaurants are doing the same thing, they train the market, so to speak. So if I'm selling a $6 taco, people they don't mind paying a $6 nigiri.
Yeah.
Because there's raw fish in it.
I mean, typically a taco, and I spent some time in Austin, Texas, and San Antonio.
Austin's a different market.
Big taco market out there, and you're looking to spend at least right around $3 to $4 in that range for a taco. But you're charging $6 a taco.
Well, it depends which taco. I mean, you want an octopus taco? It's Spanish octopus.
So basically, what you're saying
it's
is
$19 a pound.
Having all these high scale Mexican cuisine restaurants opening around you is good because it's training the market and letting them realize that Mexican food doesn't have to be cheap.
I hate saying that, and but the fact of the matter is,
we're used to Taco Bell.
I know
we need to get away from that.
We still get calls from, hey, do you have a Taco Tuesday special? Well, it's Tuesday and we have tacos. Call it a special. I mean, no, we don't. We have never abided by the Taco Tuesday monetary discount.
Yeah,
we have. What we did when we first opened, we only had 6 tacos and a couple of appetizers.
Yeah,
and on Tuesdays, that's where I would play with specials, like menu specials. They're in the menu now, and it's worked so far. But I literally got an email yesterday about, do you have any Taco Tuesday specials tomorrow? No.
So let's start. We have. I can't believe time's going by really fast. I'm loving this conversation. Let's try to dissect what it is that you think it is that you're doing well that has set you up for success. I think we've already identified just high quality, putting
no
a lot
shortcuts,
no shortcuts, top quality. I think it's also safe to say we have identified that what drives you isn't necessarily the food. You love food; it's a passion. You have high standards. You love the scientific method of doing things right,
yeah.
and having that process. But you also love people. You also love service.
I love working with people.
Yeah. And what else are you doing right? Really dissect. If you can go back in time, give the past version of yourself advice, what advice would you give that person based off of what you know to be true about your success?
Listen to your guests. I mean, really listen to them. If they want this and you can do it, of course do it. If they want that and you can't do it, be cautious in saying.
Are you talking like types of tacos?
I'm talking about menu items or chip and salsa bar, which we didn't have when we first opened. Which is, people really like it, but it's a huge cost for the restaurant. I mean, it's like, that's a big cost right there. But we have it, and we'll keep it because people are happy.
It. Yeah.
And it really doesn't. I mean, it's doable. The bottom line is, listen to your people, to your guests, what they want, and I think not be involved or like overindulged in the whole ego mentality of, I want to be an amazing chef. An amazing chef is somebody who pleases people.
Yeah.
That's all. And that's the bottom line of it.
And that's the mission of this podcast, really, is to not necessarily share knowledge. I mean, that's a big part of it, but it's also to share values. It's also to share what it takes what the mindset you need to be successful.
Yeah.
I mean, the only other thing I want to get, and I realize we're approaching the end of our time, but the one thing that I noticed that I think you do really well is, again, bring it back to the scientific method. When you built this restaurant, you built it with the intention of it being something that could be replicated.
Yes.
So just touch on that real quick. The things that we need to consider when building
systems.
What are the biggest systems
Protocols.
we need to have? Everything. Systems for everything. So what's a protocol?
Get a good POS and parameterize it properly from the get-go.
So what from the get-go?
POS, a good
Prioritize
POS
it from the get-go.
and parameterize it from the get-go.
Okay.
Like, get it set.
Gotcha.
Get your menu there.
Yeah.
That also will do your timesheets, and then get a good CPA
Yeah.
or an EA.
Did you put a lot of research into a POS before you opened?
I did not,
You
and
did
that was
not?
my mistake.
You did not. What did you go with the first time?
I went with breadcrumb, and then they went under, and then I got toast.
Okay. So what was it about Toast the second time around when you're doing your research? What was it about Toast that made you go with that platform? Why was it the right platform?
It was the best at the time that was doing the best sales pitch that wasn't legacy. You know,
Why
what
not
I mean by
legacy?
legacy, like
Micros,
Aloha
Aloha,
or
yeah,
Micros.
yeah.
Yeah. Because, I mean, when I was 15 years old, I worked at a restaurant and I used Squirrel. And I don't have anything against Squirrel. They're a very robust system. But
They're not a legacy, though. Were they? Maybe they were.
when I say legacy, I mean like the
Been around.
old school.
Gotcha.
Been around for 20 years
Gotcha.
and has not changed.
So you wanted a tablet-based, cloud-based POS.
I wanted something cloud-based that I didn't have to have a server in-house, that would allow me to do whatever I need from my
Yeah.
cell phone, and I do. I mean, do you need some food? I can
No,
actually,
no, you didn't see. I just wanted to see like what
I can order it from
my
here.
my back's been turned to all that action. I was just curious to see what was going on.
Yeah, so breadcrumb was
Yeah.
the thing, and then they didn't go under. They got bought.
Yeah.
And then Toast came about, and we're very happy with Toast. I have a lot of restaurant friends that use Toast that I referred. Got some money for that. No, I didn't. I actually haven't got paid. But anyways,
So
it's
sorry.
an all-inclusive.
Yeah.
It's a so when you're opening a restaurant, systems.
Yeah.
The systems matter. Go in your kitchen. Make sure the food cost is in line. First thing.
Mm-hmm.
Then make sure the labor cost is in line. Then make sure, and before you do all that, make sure you have the systems and protocols in place to actually make everything work.
How did you learn what in line looks like? Where did you go to get that picture of what in line looks like? Was that your finance background?
Yeah, I mean, no, there's, yeah, but there's, talk to people. I mean,
other restaurant owners.
everybody knows the 30, 30, 30, 10.
What's the 30, 30, 30, 10? For those who else don't know.
30 food cost, 30% food cost, 30% labor cost.
Your prime costs.
Yeah, but those are, and then 10 profit. But that's wrong. That's so wrong.
Why is it wrong?
Because if you're running a 30% labor cost, you're going down.
What percentage do you shoot for?
24,
Okay.
including salaries and
Yeah.
everything.
I think that 30, 30, 10
Benefits and everything.
might have been something that
it would have
back in like 20
like
years
in
ago.
the 90s.
Yeah. But the market's margins are shrunk. You need to make it up someplace else.
And the thing with restaurants is, I mean, you want to keep your good staff.
Yeah.
And it's unfortunate that there's so much overhead. I mean, like insurance and legalities and whatnot, that really, I mean, I wasn't lying when I'm saying I'm not making any money. I mean, I'm living.
Yeah.
I'm happy about it.
But I think that's a big, it's one of the things a challenge I had to deal with when I first started this podcast, because the mission of this podcast is to inspire, empower, and transform the industry. And I'm making an example of those who are crushing it in the market. But sometimes, even when you're doing really well from the outside looking in,
You're not. Yeah.
you're busy, there's lines out the doors, you still don't have those markets. But if you get into this industry for the right reasons, and you're scratch and,
Oh,
you're paying the bills.
Yeah, you'll be good for life.
Yeah,
I mean,
like you
because
have
you're
great
pleasing
relationship with
Yeah,
people. Like you're
yeah.
all the reasons why you want to get into this industry for to have the intimacy with your guests, to stand behind the bar and to have this network. You got that.
I fucking love that.
I mean, and I think it's important to talk about this. Like, you're not going to get rich. I mean, you could do really well if you do.
If you're Danny Mayer.
If those systems that you've created, pay off, and that you can open the second and third and fourth location. That's probably when you'll be able to really, replace yourself.
When the first location pays for you, and you open the second, third, and fourth, that's when you make money. But
yeah. Maybe I'll come back in 5 years when you're at your 6th location. We can talk about how you scaled it.
5 years? We should be like our 20th location.
20? Really? Oh,
no,
that's...
no,
I'm
no,
not
no,
gonna Okay, so one question I want to start asking all my guests before we move to the speed round is, how have you transformed? The mission statement of this podcast is to inspire and empower and transform the industry. So who are you today versus the man you were getting into this industry 4 years ago?
I am more humble.
What do you mean by humble? Describe what is humility to you?
Well, like I was saying, when we first opened, we had this concept of that we have now. We stuck to our guns, but before that, one weekend, we honestly thought about shutting it down because feedback was 50-50. Like, it's amazing or it fucking sucks.
How'd you turn it around?
We stuck to it.
Yeah.
And then we lost those guests.
Well, that's the other thing, too. Not every guest is going to be your guest. Not everybody's going to love what you do, but those who do love what you do.
I'm just going to say it again. We cannot please them all, but we're going to fucking try.
Yeah. Awesome.
That's it. I mean,
I loved this conversation. And we're going to take a quick break to thank our sponsors, and we'll be right.
This episode brought to you by MarginEdge. Never deal with a paperwork nightmare again.
All right, we're back. And the first question I have for you is, what is your it factor, a habit, a trait, a characteristic you believe most contributes to your success, your strength?
Fuck. Go again.
Want me to ask it one more time?
Yeah.
What is your it factor, a habit, a trait, a characteristic you believe most contributes to your success?
I like people.
You like people. What's your biggest weakness?
I like people.
What is one thing you look for, or question you ask during the interview process? When you're growing your team, what are you looking for?
Do you like people?
Do you like people? What is one of your biggest...
I actually do ask that.
Do you?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Has anybody ever said no?
No. But you can tell immediately.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
you can tell.
You know, yeah. What is one of your biggest challenges today?
Growth.
Yeah. And specifically, what part of growth is challenging you?
That's not a one-word response. We get busy, and I'm thankful for that. And I'm stressed because of the guest experience, how it suffers.
Yeah.
Because we are not a big restaurant.
You say you get PC?
Busy.
Oh, busy.
Yeah.
Sorry. Like when I'm taking up 3 of your tables?
Yeah, but right now it's okay.
Yeah, we'll wrap up soon. We'll be making
Like on a Friday night, that's a Friday night would be like, no.
It's a good problem to have, not having enough space.
But you said it.
Yeah.
Problem. It's a problem.
It is.
It is a problem.
Yep.
And I fucking hate it.
Mm.
And that's my challenge right there, to solve that problem.
Share one code of conduct or behavior. Sorry, one code of conduct or behavior you teach your team. This is a core value, a way to be, a way to act.
We can't please them all, but we'll try.
Yes. What is one uncommon standard of service you teach your team? This is a way to go above and beyond what's expected from you. Something that's common within your 4 walls, but not common within the industry.
You should have told me about that. I would have thought about it.
I think it was in the email. Well, there was no email. We texted. That's what it was. Yeah, I apologize.
Code of conduct. Please them all.
Please them all.
Try and please them all.
Yep, I love it. What is one book that's a must-read to make us a better person or restaurant owner?
Unfuck your life.
Unfuck your life. Biggest
Or
lesson.
something. Unfuck something.
What is the biggest lesson you learned from that book?
I don't give any fucks.
Yeah, it's kind of like that book, that the subtle art of not giving a fuck. Similar.
Yeah.
Is that the book? You reading? No, it's a different book? Similar?
It's that's a quote. I think it's the same book.
Yeah, awesome. What is one thing you feel restaurateurs don't do well enough or often enough?
Accounting.
What is one piece of technology you've adopted within the four walls of your business that's had a huge impact on operations that you can share with us?
Inventory systems.
What's that? Inventories?
Inventory
What are you
systems.
using? Through
Extra
Toast?
Chef.
What
No.
is it?
Extra Chef.
Extra Chef?
There's no E, so it's X.
Like the letter X.
Extra Chef. yeah.
Extra Chef. Got it. And this is the last question. It's a doozy. This is one you would have definitely wanted to get.
Damn you,
before
man. Damn you, man.
But you're going to handle it. I know you are. I'll read it slowly so you can process as I ask
It's
the
that
question.
long?
Yeah. If you got the news, you'd be leaving this world tomorrow. All the memories of you, your work, and your restaurants would be lost with your departure, with the exception of three things you could leave behind. For
The restaurant's gone?
the restaurant's gone, you're gone. You can leave three things behind, pieces of wisdom behind for the good of humanity and for your legacy. What would those three things be?
Be nice to people.
1,
Be nice to people.
2,
Treat them all the same.
treat them all the same. I love this conversation, man. This has been a great chat.
I'm sorry I hadn't anything else, but that's really
Dude,
how
this
I
was
feel.
great, man. This has been. There's no need to apologize. This has been a great conversation. I loved every second of it. We wrap up every chat by calling somebody out. That's how I found you. Oliver Ridgway called you out as well.
I know he
as-
did. He talked to me yesterday.
Yeah.
No,
Did he give you a warning?
well, he asked me if he called me. I'm like, yeah, he did.
Thanks, man. Who do you respect and admire? Who do you think's doing it right? It needs to be made an example of.
So this is where Oliver called me out?
Yeah.
Oh, I like him more now. Mike Fagnoni.
Mike, who was his last name?
Fagnoni
Mike Fagnoni. Look out! I'm coming after you. I'd love to get you on the show.
is the chef owner at Hawks.
Hawks. All right, beautiful. I'd love to get you on the show and let the folks know how can we connect with you. If we've enjoyed today's conversation, we're in the Sacramento area, or maybe we're willing to relocate to come join your team. And you're at one location right now. Do you have aspirations to scale?
Yeah.
This is a good team to be on. This is when you want to get involved with with an organization. What's the best way to connect?
Patricio at Nixtaco. It's a play on words. It has got me so much trouble. People ask, "Are you sure it's not .com?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm sure. I bought the domain. It's .co."
I'll have the link.
Nixta.co.
I'll have the link in the show notes. This is episode 664. Head over to restaurantunstoppable.com
All right.
/664. I'll have a link in the show notes as well as.
Thank you for being here.
Oh man, it was an honor. It was my pleasure.
No, it's my pleasure. Trust me.
You were great. A summary of today's discussion will be over there in the show notes, as well as a link to any tool or service or books recommending how to connect with Patricio. And just again, thank you so much. I would not be able to do what I do without people like you taking the time to share their knowledge and their mentorship. And there is no
It's
questioning.
amazing that you're doing this.
Thank you. There is no mentioning, my man. You are unstoppable.